Thanks for joining us this week on Email Geeks at Home Drinking Coffee. Join your hosts Chris Marriott and Paul Schreiner each week as they talk email marketing, life, purpose, faith, but mainly email marketing. If you're looking for some normalcy in these crazy times, you've come to the right place.
Welcome back to Email Geeks at Home Drinking Coffee, where I am at home and my colleague
Chris Marriott. I am at home too.
Well, you're at home too, right? I think that's the right way to say it. Home too, right?
Well, that's what I meant, right? Home, TWO.
You're right, right.
As you can see from the background, which is real. Again, I'm back in Alabama, and everything is right with the world again.
Right. Well, and you're not wrong. And I think that's certainly evident in this episode we're about to share. Absolutely yes. Fantastic. I think folks are going to love it. As we sort of delve into the sort of history of email marketing a little bit, which I think will be really, for folks who aren't in the industry, I think it'll be interesting. For folks that are, it's going to be super interesting.
Exactly. And I think what I think is going to make this such an interesting episode is you're not only going to get that historical flavor, but you're going to get, the here and now, people who are very involved in the here and now and in the future. So it's a continuum of past, present, and future, and I don't think we could have had a more interesting episode, in our Founders series.
Well, and I'd be remiss if we didn't take the time to thank the sponsors that help make this show happen. Audience Point with our new product ListFit, the amount of energy and effort put into that, freeing me up to be able to still do this has been absolutely amazing. And I think part of that bigger story, which is building community. And I think that's certainly evident in this episode, that concept of community and the community that we're working on right now is how do we become better marketers? How do we use data better? That's what we're doing.
Right. And if you haven't checked out ListFit, you need to. And
ListFit, that's close. ListFit.
Well, if you haven't checked out my version, which is called ListFit. No, if you haven't checked out ListFit, you need to, because it is a great product. Speaking as a non-employee, it's a great product. Its time is now. And, as we talk about the email founders in this series, there's, as we said, the past, the future, the present, the future. Things like ListFit are the future of list hygiene, are the future of keeping your deliverability at its peak. And again, I strongly urge you to check it out.
Thank you for that nice add-on. And we should probably talk about Email Connect.
Well, we'll talk about Email Connect. Again, I'm the president founder, and we are here to help brands navigate the RFP process and in vendor selection for new ESPs. Many brands in 2020 put off their RFPs due to the pandemic. And so we expect to see a lot of RFPs in 2021. If you're one of those who either plan to do one in 2021 or now are forced to do one because it was delayed from 2020, give us a call. We're happy to hear from you. We're happy to help you, even if it's a full engagement or just some advice. We're here to help brands in a very complex and confusing vendor landscape make the right decision as to what vendors to look at and maybe what vendors to go with. So that's what we're here for.
Yeah, for sure. And with that, Chris,
let's go to the show.
Let's go to the show.
And we're back.
We're back.
And we are absolutely thrilled to be joined today by Andrew and Nely Bonar. This is, as you all know, our Founders series, season 5.
Yep.
And I'm not sure we could have found a more seasoned email vet than Andrew. And he and Nely have had a long career in this space, and I'm sure we're going to learn a lot of excellent things today about where they've been, and probably more exciting, where they're going and where they're taking the industry and how they're helping the industry. So Andrew, Nely, welcome. We're thrilled again, Nely, that you joined us. We appreciate your time, and we appreciate everything you guys do for the industry as well, and which we'll be talking about through the podcast. But
well, and I'd like to add, this is our first episode. We have 2 guests in the same chair, Chris.
Very true. This, in fact, we might be making podcasting history.
History.
So, so it's a special thrill that perhaps not only two guests in the same chair, but coming to us live from Spain.
Spain, that's right.
And later we will be learning fun facts about Spain when we go to our lightning round. But a lot of homework went into this one. Anyway, let's start with our usual, what are we drinking? And then we'll allow Andrew and Nely to talk a little bit. And
Yeah.
I tried to pull together your bio, Andrew. There's no way I could have done it justice beyond your 25-year veteran. So I'm going to let you talk about a little bit what you've done. But first, what are we drinking?
What are we drinking?
I drink Starbucks coffee, homemade, obviously, with a cream and condensed milk.
Condensed milk.
Condensed milk.
Yeah, that's delicious.
I've got a bit of a sweet tooth, so I have an espresso Starbucks vanilla eclair with some extra condensed milk because it's not sweet enough as it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have a bit of a sweet tooth and a love for coffee. So
What are you drinking?
Me? I'm drinking Santo Domingo coffee from the Caribbean island, the Dominican Republic. And my fancy mug today is, I'm in Fairhope, Alabama, and that is sort of the symbol of the town. It's a dock or pier that goes into Mobile Bay where you can fish off of or launch your boat from. So Paul, I can't remember. Dominican Republic holds a place in your heart. Why again?
Well, Chris, thanks for bringing that up yet again. We actually had an all expense paid trip to the Dominican Republic for a week. My wife and I, separate from our 5 children, to go to the Dominican Republic for a little trip, which got canceled because of COVID.
I'm sorry, I keep forgetting that, and I know it must not be nice to be reminded of that by my coffee consumption every single week.
It's not great. I'll not sugarcoat that. I'm just drinking an Americano with Presso, or the Rock. I like espresso, and I think the oils of the coffee come out really, really well with this particular machine. So I like it.
nice.
Excellent. Okay, let's get to the program itself. Andrew, let's start with you and give us sort of the sense of your career and what you've done and where you've done it, because you're in Spain now, but that's not where you've been your entire career. So
Yeah, no, I started an email in the UK and I kind of, I would say, fell into it. So before I started working, I'd been involved in the internet for other reasons. I was caring for a partner at the time, she had a disability, and the bulletin boards and the BBS systems and those things way back when 14.4 modems were a thing. I was involved in, not for work, but purely for the fact that was where you could get access to great doctors and great medical advice and other stuff. So by virtue of the fact that I had touched the internet, I fell into it. My uncle had a website where I had an interest in HTML. It had moved on a lot more since the bulletin boards in the 5 years since I first got involved. His supplier, his backbone provider, I got to talking to the founder there. We hit it off, and he started talking about all sorts of things that just seem so passé today. He was talking about the virtual high street and how people would be buying things online, and it blew my mind. And I thought a lot of it was just nuts and was not going to happen in our lifetime.
right.
But one of the things I saw was he was working with just a handful of enterprise clients at the time, and I was like, look, there's a whole heap of value with the internet and especially email. that is untapped by, it's just small businesses. Printers and things were paying crazy prices for ISDN lines at the time to transfer any kind of data, and there was all sorts of non-sensitive stuff. And I saw all these potential, real world applications that we can use today. And he was like, "Hey, look, I've got all the success because I need to make sure we can meet the needs of real big enterprise FTSE 50 clients, and these small medium-sized businesses that are going to be tapping in and maybe coming in at 33.6 at the time aren't going to cost the business anything. Let's do something." And we wanted to come up with some way of getting the name out there. And we offered free email addresses. So it wasn't free email as such. So we weren't giving people email accounts. Everyone had CompuServe accounts at the time. And that was like a telephone number at compuserve.something.compuserve.com. And no one could remember it. So we registered PO Box.co.uk and turned around and said, like, basically free for life, your name at POBox.co.uk. Yeah, that was a few years before Hotmail. But as I said, it wasn't a true email service for another few years after that. But that's how I got into email. That was providing receiver-side solutions, and that grew into providing people email accounts for a fee. But we still had the free email redirection service, basically the email aliasing service. And that was great. So, a few years down the road when we went into businesses and stuff and said, look, we want to talk to you about providing internet access and, commercial email services and things, they may not have known who we were, but it rang a bell because when they went and looked at their business card, 9 times out of 10, those businesses in the UK were using POBox.co.uk because it was the most professional way to have an email address. So yeah, it was a great in. We started blocking mail because there was a lot of mailboxes that we were handling, and that's when I first started hearing from senders and complaints about delivery of messages, of why you're doing what you're doing, and so really I was more postmaster side at the beginning. And I understood that that there was potentially mail that we were blocking that maybe we shouldn't have been. We blocked the tax office because everyone was complaining about the tax office emails. And
okay, that's awesome.
Naked metrics, the complaint levels for the tax office emails were just like through the roof, and we're like, these guys got to be spammers. And yeah, so they contacted us and said, look, rather you don't block Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs. Never nice to talk to HM to any of the HM departments. So yeah, we had to get a grip on how we were, the way we were being a little bit ruthless with email. Fell into deliverability. Started. I launched my own ESP, which was probably a little bit before its time. Sold it off to its biggest customer. And throughout, we've had Email Expert. So, Email Expert was something, I don't know when we registered, when I registered and first started doing that as a blog. But that was always my first love, and what we were wanting to do was build this community and see it do all sorts of things. And along the way, I've been distracted by some fabulous companies,
Right.
who offered me, fabulous packages, and I walked away and let it, just sit there and didn't grow the way, I didn't devote my all to that. It wasn't bringing in any revenue. And gained, I don't regret any of what I've done, but glad that Email Expert's been a constant there in the background, and we're now able to make it more of a full-time thing, because Nely's been with me.
Hi, Nelly.
Nely's been with me on this journey since we got serious, and before, all the planning and stuff and things that we were thinking about, the dream of what Email Expert could be, that was cooked up at all sorts of wonderful conferences that we went to, and both attended places like the DMA and the EC and Morgan, all sorts of great events, and there we thought about what was being offered and what maybe was missing and what we could maybe bring to the table, and slowly we're finding our niche, I think, and trying to, give people a stage and a voice. So it's been an interesting journey over the years. And yeah, I mean, what I glossed over was lots of time with big senders. So, I spent time with Email Vision, Smart Focus, Campaign Monitor, and then, worked privately with, a huge bunch of names, Klaviyo, Outreach,
Yeah.
there's a huge number of I can't remember which ESPs I have NDAs with and which ones I don't. So I don't try not to run all the names off while I'm on camera. Dot Mailer, I did I had an amazing job with Dot Mailer. That was fantastic. That was seeing a real company go from big, very big to serious enterprise.
Yeah.
And change culture significantly, and maximum respect to the team there.
Sure.
They took on everything that I said, and they changed significantly the way they operate and what was allowed and what wasn't on their system and things. So another thing that I've always been an advocate of is better practices in the industry. It's all about making money in the bottom line, but at the end of the day, let's not kill the golden goose, and that's all it's about. Less so than legislation, rules, regulations, and everything else. This is a fantastic golden goose, and abusing it is just going to kill it and strangle it. And that's why I love one of the reasons why I have loved the industry, that and the people, and so there's a million things I love about it. But yeah, email is something that I tried to walk away from a couple of times. So we did spend a couple of years as a professional chef. But yeah, it's not something that you can allows you to walk away from. So yeah, it keeps bringing you back.
Right. It's like the mob. Just when you think you're out, they get you. They bring you back in. But I also want to make sure that people understand, get the context. I mean, when you were talking about your early days, you're talking about the 1990s, correct?
Well, not even the 90s, because Hotmail really showed up on the scene 95, 96. So you were talking about early 90s.
So 94. So I remember celebrating my 21st birthday while I was working for them. And so that would have been 95, 96. So a couple of years before that. Before that, my first website was when I was, so I think this mirrors Paul, no, it wasn't Paul Story, it was another one of your guests, Chester Bullock. He started with websites probably around the same, maybe even a little bit after me. So I published a website when I was still at school, which I can still find on the Wayback Archive, which is awesome. I would have been 15. So the first time I published a site was 1990, and that was so that underage we could get ourselves, me and my best mate, into clubs. So we basically did an events website and said we were online journalists. So at that time, I think there was something like, I don't know, there was definitely less than 1 million, maybe less than 100,000 websites or something online. So it was quite something. It was, as I said, it was driven from interest. And my dad as well. I mean, he really pushed on, I don't know what this is, but the internet's important. And I'm going to pay for this dial-up connection, which was ludicrously expensive at the time, so that you've got access to it. So,
and you probably started with a 2400 baud modem.
1600.
Oh, you started at 14.4.
I had a 14.4 when the 56k flexes came out. So when 56k came out, and we'd been an ESP an ISP for a while then, and we were over the moon. So our 56k, where we were able to offer 56k internet access super fast. What a frustrating experience. We delivered that by we delivered that by buying 56 Hayes 56k flex modems, and then just stacking them up on phone lines. So that was literally what we did in the early days. It was a garage, and just modems stacked on top of each other. Somebody shared on Twitter the other day a video, and I was like, that's 56k flex. that's 56k flex. And as it got round, it was like 56k flex. And then he was like, how do you know that? And I was like, I just stared at a bank of those for like a year and a half, just like hoping that they didn't all go red, because that meant we ran out of lines.
Goodness.
Over contended the service.
So
But
some of the kids.
so yeah, it went back some time, and it was always about trying to deliver better value. So I think it's important to note that the stuff that me and Mick did, we launched CheapNet, which was all about turning around and telling businesses, look, you can afford to go online. So at the time, there was no one that was offering, even a small business, the opportunity to go online for less than £50 a month. We turned around and said, 50 a year. We'll include your domain name for that. We're not going to charge you another £100. What we want to do is see you get online. One of the other things I did was I launched eBanks, which was one of the first e-payment gateways. And that was because, and I'll say it to this day, it's a route, the percentage that, online providers charge, it's a route. I accept the issue with MasterCard and Visa needing to take the percentage of merchants' transactions. The rest is pure BS. So we launched a service. Where we charged a penny a transaction. Basically, it didn't make a difference to us if it was a $1,000 transaction or a $10 transaction. We would charge a penny a transaction. And we did that by leasing a line to the bank, just reverse engineered what was going on. And I said, look, there's no way it needs to cost this much, because there's one of these in every single shop I walk into. Every time I go in and swipe my card, that's all I'm trying to do over the internet. It's not that if you can do that, on one of those dumb machines, dumb terminals in a store, we can certainly emulate that on a computer. In some ways I regret the fact that I didn't stick to my guns and we took our money from the industry that didn't want us offering a flat rate transaction. But yeah, I still think there's a lot of room for that in e-commerce and stuff. There's a lot going on that shouldn't. And my background's always been in trying to deliver more value, not trying to undercut anyone, but just say, look, if you can, if you've got the wherewithal to take on some of the responsibility around supporting yourself, and these are where the costs are. And if I can separate out what the real costs are for me versus what offering the services to you, that was the model that we had. Unfortunately, it's not really the way the internet's gone over the last 20 years. But yeah, I hope lots of big businesses doing really, really well with the way the internet's turned out. It's not the vision that I had 20 years ago. It's not the open internet that I'd hoped for. But yeah, it is what it is, and there's still massive opportunity that wouldn't be there without it. So still love it to death.
I have a question, and it's maybe a little more light, and I'm going to direct this one to Nely. So, power couples, you've got Benefer, you've got different sort of ways. I have a couple of different options for you guys, and I'd like to hear which one you like the most, okay? So we can do Nandrew, which would be Nely and Andrew. We can do Andrelli. Andrelli, I think, is the one I like the best. But I'm really curious, do you have a preference between Andrew and Andrelli?
That's a difficult question. I'm going to pass on this one.
What?
I
The same question.
I don't understand.
So power couples,
Yes.
for example, who? You've got these guys
Back in the day, it was Ben Affleck and
Jennifer Lopez.
Garner, I think it was. Maybe it was Jennifer Garner. Yeah.
So do you prefer an Andrew or a what?
Andrelli.
Andrelli.
Well, I prefer not to mix names, but if I have to, if they really ask me, Andrelli, maybe it sounds a bit Italian, no? It's a bit,
a little bit continental. That's not work.
Do you mix your names? Like, you could also do like, I don't know,
Paul and Chris.
I don't know. That's
Could be
Harris.
Oh, is that?
But we're not a power couple.
I'm gonna go with crawl over piss. That's my preference. Is crawl over piss.
or Paulifer, anyway, you know, you got your start, Andrew. And what I love is, I mean, there's very few people that go back as far, and unfortunately, I'm one of them because I'm of a certain age as well. That go back, can remember a time before the internet, but also can remember all of the things that, all of the hopes and dreams, some of which came true and some of which didn't come true, that we all went through in the 90s if we were involved in, building websites or getting involved in email. And, lots of people, what I think is so fascinating, if you look at the founders of so many ESPs back then, they cashed out years ago and have moved on to other things. So, I think it's priceless, again, the sort of perspective that you can bring to the industry, and share, and share in your conversations with people. And I think that's terrific. You really didn't tout your own horn. I mean, you founded a couple of the first ESPs in Europe. I mean, that's huge stuff. And, there's probably, very few people that I can point to that I'm friends with that I can say they were there, they started an ESP. So again, I think,
we did well, and we had some great clients. I mean, Lotus Notes, Rockwell, Microsoft, Netscape at one time. Some brands that don't exist anymore, but were huge at the time.
They were huge.
Yeah, I mean, they were massive names, and it was great to have them. And again, I'm lucky to have Nely. So yeah, I did have massive success. What I wasn't any good at was getting beyond year 1.5, year 2. I would implode my businesses or have to sell them off very quickly to see them survive. I wasn't good at that. So that's why I'm really grateful to have Nely's support to try and see this grow properly and take it to the next stage. So yeah, we did have great success and massive failures along the way. One of the proudest things is those companies that I built that went on for another 10, 15, 20 years without me. And that's, and many of them employed family and friends and the rest of it. So, that was a beautiful thing to see. But yeah, I haven't necessarily been the smartest or most acute business person. Maybe been too embroiled in to date, been too embroiled in maybe my wishes and hopes of what I'd like to see, the change I'd like to see. And then temper that with, we also need to pay the bills.
Right. But isn't that true of innovators, right? Like innovators dream, and you are constantly dreaming, and you catch something, right? And you build it because it meets a need, and there's revenue, and there's money coming in, but that doesn't turn off that dreaming, right? Like, but we could go here and we could go here. And the thing that is both your greatest strength is also your kryptonite, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I say something?
Yes, please do.
Andrew is like a machine with creating all these new ideas, and he wakes up and he has like, I don't know, maybe 100, maybe 1,000 ideas in his head, and then he just gives it all to me. And because it's so spontaneous, it's very hard to choose right way, and that's why, it's difficult. But we are very lucky that we can do what we are doing.
Yeah, and I think the point is Nely's saying it doesn't make it easy for me, but I'll dump like 100 ideas, and she'll turn around and say, look, commercially that's not going to work, and this is but this one and this one, these are things that we should be working on. And sometimes we just like take one of them away and not say anything to me, and then go, okay, have a look at this. Is this what you meant? Is this what we're supposed to be doing here? But yeah, it's a real partnership. But when it comes to making, Nely signs all the contracts. Nely makes all of those decisions, and I always defer to her because I know what happens when I've deferred to myself in the past. And we're doing, we've still got tough days, tough weeks, tough months, but we're doing much better with Nely at the helm than me running in a million different directions all the time.
Right.
No,
Right.
that's
Nely's able to
fantastic.
focus and right, yeah. Back to what you were saying 3 days ago, Andrew, that fantastic idea that you've already, buried because you've got this new one. We still need to, finish that one off.
That's fantastic.
So let's fast forward to 2020.
2021, Chris.
No, 2020.
Okay.
Let's fast forward to 2020. In an established industry, I don't think it's ever easy to develop and launch a new conference. There's
Right.
the conferences that the email conferences that people have gone to for years, that are sort of on their on their list of things that they're going to do that year, that attract the sponsors. You guys did something that I think was unprecedented in that you in early 2020 came out and to the market and said, we're starting this new conference. It's going to be a combination of virtual and live. It's going to be global. And you lined up just blue chip sponsors. You lined up blue chip speakers. And then you had the rug pulled out from under you. And yet you're here. The conference. Talk a little bit about your decision to start a new conference, and talk a little bit about the experience of having. I remember you emailing, Nely, you and I emailing, 2 weeks before the event, and I'm saying I'm still coming. I mean, it was that close to happening, and then again the pandemic shut everything down. So again, talk a little bit about your decision to start that, and talk a little bit about how it felt when it appeared to blow up and yet it didn't.
So that was 10 years cooking. The idea of doing a conference was 10 years cooking. And we loved what others were doing. We did. I mean, Email Insider Summit.
Email Insider Summit and more. There is
But two very, very different events, completely different, different audiences, different experiences, but we loved lots of things about both of them, to be honest, and also the EEC events. And there was something about Nely wasn't a badged attendee at Morg. So she was the plus ones and the social stuff, or as Nely said today, where the shit
everything happens.
Well, and that's true.
It is true.
She's like, where everything happened, I was there. So yeah, I didn't go to Morg, but I was there where where it's really important, where stuff was happening. As a plus one, saw all of that and was very involved. And badged at the other events as email expert. But there was something about having a combination of what those kinds of conferences did, and also a level of accessibility. I mean, we accepted that we were incredibly lucky to be able to afford to go to something like Insider Summit.
Right.
Yeah, afford is right. It's
this is our marketing budget for the year. Let's go to one conference.
Like I remember, it's when I
Sherpa as well. That was cool. And
when I attended this event, I was like, "This is awesome!" But I have this idea. I would like to do this, and let's do also events. And we actually started doing meetups with Dotmailer in Sydney, and not.
And we did smaller things.
Yeah, little. Just.
We did something in New York. We for our anniversary, we had the President's Suite at the W in New York, and had a little Email Geeks get together. But yeah, we had these ideas, and accessibility, or making it available to more Email Geeks was important to us. And one of the things that we were like was. And something that was being floated, I remember people talking about at the conferences at the time was, how would you do one of these and have it free? We'll do that by, the sponsors basically underwrite everything, but then it's going to be terrible content. And there was a lot of thought that went into, how can we deliver quality? How can we deliver value for the vendors? I'm always putting for the the sponsors, always putting the delegates first. How can we try and share these costs around? We haven't cracked it yet because we failed in that none of our speakers get a stipend at the moment, and that's something that we really want to be addressing in the next the next 12 months. We do try and pay it forward in lots of ways, but to be fair, it's only because the community has been so supportive. So there's no way we could have gotten away with what we did or put what we did together without so many good friends and so many contacts and such a supportive group of people that we work with here in the industry. But what was to go back to your question, what was it like to have the rug pulled out from under us? Nely had been telling me for 3 weeks before that we should rethink it. Nely was like, I don't want to have one of these outbreaks tied back to our international conference. She's like, it's not a joke. She's like, you've got 60 speakers coming from 4 or 5 continents, 18 countries. You've got delegates coming from even more countries. And these are people that the other point that she made was these are people that are risk averse. So they're potentially high risk individuals. And obviously not yourself, but there were some older speakers, and Nely was again really concerned about the exposure that we would be putting some people to, and that kind of thing. I'll be honest, we had everything wrapped up in deposits and payments, and everything we had was riding on. I'm tearing up thinking about it. It was tough. Yeah, it was tough, but we did it. We sorry. It was really tough few weeks, but we did it.
Yeah, we did it with support of community. Of course, we wouldn't be able to do it, but it was. Oh, now it's my time to talk. Inbox Expo, I really actually excited. The end, when it's ended, I was thinking that's it. We're never gonna do anything else. We can't do it. It's not good enough, because when I set up standards for myself, and I know how big industry, how important, right? People we work with, it's so much pressure, and that's what I wanted to do, but it was so hard, I should say. And after so many feedbacks we got, and how community respond and react, and people find it useful, our content, and that we can actually educate people, exchange information, and do something good for community. I think, we're doing okay.
Yeah, we're doing okay. It was Nely, I think, was particularly, it wasn't just any industry that we decided we were going to launch a conference in, but we decided we're going to launch a conference in email, but it's mostly mark-on companies that are coming with the money. So these marketing automation companies have big marketing teams. They know what's what and what they're doing, and they have standards and expectations. And we had a vision of where we want to be, but having to pivot in such a short space of time. So the idea was, we have this stage, we have this relatively small audience in London, 140 people, 150 people, and we're able to broadcast this, but what we've got is this big stage effect and this audience, and we had a crew of like 4 camera people, 4 video people that were going to be in there filming the stage and looking at the crowd and doing the audience and the interactions and all the rest of it. So we had this big show planned for what was going to be delivered online. We'd had this great relationship with Hopin, that were the online events platform, and the founder and one of the founders and other members of the team were planning to be at the event physically to make sure that this broadcast was going to go out properly. And then suddenly, at the very last minute, we were doing exactly what Johnny, the founder, had told me on day one, don't do, which was, we'd originally planned just to do a virtual conference. It was just to do a virtual conference. They were like, look, you're not going to deliver something that's really professional that, you know, competes with something that someone's going to, you know, watch online.
Yeah.
COVID, if you haven't got a stage and you haven't got a professional camera crew and all the rest of it, and you can't control that with 60 speakers and 60 different locations, you're never going to deliver what you're talking about. So yeah, so we had to pivot to doing exactly what we decided was definitely not the way we wanted to go. The speakers were incredible because, you know, some had already ducked out. But it was very, very fast. It was all in the last few days. It was in the last 7 days. I mean, our speakers were up until the very last minute. We're like, we're coming. I think, Chris, to be fair, you were one of the last people to still be going, like, any chance I'll still be there.
Right.
But yeah, because I
was
think,
like, every time when Chris sent him, I was like, yeah, Chris is still coming.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, I remember one of my quotes that I sent to you guys was, "Wild horse is going to keep me away." Well, I guess wild horses couldn't keep me away, but a pandemic eventually did.
And I remember having conversations with you, Chris, where I was like, "You're flying to London," and you're like, "I think so. I mean, I will if they'll let me." And I was
right. Listen, I was so excited, and one of the things I want to say to you guys as well. And I can say it because I was a speaker and I did speak at the virtual conference, is the pivot you did and the quality of, I mean, never having done the live, let alone the virtual. And I'm not just saying this. I mean, the virtual conference that you did, Hopin was a great choice, and you already were connected with them. So that was great. And that is really good virtual conference software, the best I've ever been part of. But the quality of the virtual conference, while I was crushed, I mean, I was already tasting that British beer and the bangers and mash. While I was crushed. Yeah, I know. While I was crushed not to be in London, you really did pull off what I thought was a great conference, and you've gotten really good at it. I mean, a few weeks ago, you did a deliverability conference. Which I was lucky enough to be invited again to be a part of, and that was terrific. And you know, my only hope is that you guys don't get so good at the virtual, that you don't do the on-site event. I'm hoping that there's on-site events in the future, and I know you're talking and you've been reaching out about this year's event. What are your thoughts for, you know, the future? Are you going to stay virtual, or are you going to go back to the combination that you originally envisioned?
Yeah, our original vision was the sponsors didn't get, and lots of other people didn't get. A shout out to people like Email Industries and Scott Hardigree, who did get it and tried to set up a North America stage for me. But yeah, you know, the original idea was these, you know, multi-location hybrid events. If you've got the money and you want to network with the players in the space and all the rest of it, by all means, you can rock up to London or San Francisco or wherever it may be. You know, that was the original vision. Everyone can access it online. Everyone can, you know, have some level of networking and stuff. So moving away from the exclusivity and also offering, you know, that exclusive experience for those that needed, wanted, or were able to access it, and thereby, you know, offset the costs for all those others that, you know, aren't in a position to do that. So that, you know, we thought that was a fair, that was a fair way of working things, and that's where we'd like to get back to. We had hoped for a while, and we'd spoken to the authorities here and spoken to the resort and everything else. We had hoped that in March we were going to be doing, you know, a physical edition, very, very small. We planned this time to have just 60 people, 60, maybe 70 with their guests. And that would have been a mix of speakers and delegates at a location in Spain. We thought we'd, you know, we invested a lot of time. So whilst whenever we could, in between the breaks and restrictions and stuff, we ducked out and had a look at various locations that were close enough to us to get to and were allowed to go to within the restrictions. And we thought we'd found something that was bulletproof. So a venue that holds 5,000 people, we're going to have 50 to 60. So, this idea of having, like, whether it goes down to 5% or 15% or 20% of capacity, we're talking about like 1% of capacity. You're going to be cool with that, right? And so, yeah, so we did that, and they were up until, really recently, there was the opportunity to hold events up to 60 people. But that got, that got cancelled a month to 6 weeks ago. And now there's real mixed messages. So the lockdown's pretty strict here. But at the same time, they're saying in 6 weeks they would like to welcome tourists back. I'm not sure what you want to offer tourists when they're asking you to be indoors before 8 p.m. By law before 10 p.m. Nothing is open. No one is allowed to meet in public or in private. You can't meet members of any other household. So, it's a lockdown by anything but name. Sort of said it's not a lockdown and then introduced 30 or 40 different restrictions, which effectively means
right.
So, yeah, so we're hoping so.
As soon as we can, I think we will have a private in-person event, because it's been so long since we actually had one of those. Yeah, we want to be first, but it's very hard to predict anything in such a situation. And we're very excited for our digital event, because everything is growing so fast. The updates, Hopin platform or any other platform, are so quick and so different. So many different features available. So it's very interesting where it's growing, I would say so. So it's for Inbox Expo 2021, we have a lot of plans, and I hope that we have enough time to prepare for everything.
Well, I'd just like to add one thing to your model that I think is absolutely brilliant. Even if you're in person at the conference, right? And there's that one session that you want to go to, that everybody wants to go to, right? And so you have to get there like 2 hours early to wait in line to hopefully get into that session, right? So that you
that would be your session, Paul. That would probably be your session.
No, of course it is. To sit in an uncomfortable seat so you can hear the session, right? There is nothing magical about being in the room. And if you can rebroadcast, so the people that get there 2 hours early and want to be there, cool. But for everybody else that just came from a session, now they can go like, I don't want to go to that totally irrelevant to me. I want to go to this one. Just hop online and watch it. You don't have to do it. And I think that's the sort of brilliant model of sort of even in-person event, how that can have a pretty profound impact on your conference experience.
Yeah, I think there's lots of things that we're still learning and still discovering. And yeah, like you're talking about that, and I'm like, hell, because we don't run, well, haven't run multi-track events so far. And one of the things that would have been first and foremost in my mind in putting a conference together would have been making sure that didn't happen at one of our sessions, that there was more than enough room for whoever would be there. But for obvious reasons, I can see why conference organizers would have that happening and stuff. And yeah, so we're discovering, all sorts of, all the time, that we're doing things and giving it away, and they're like, well, that's not how the others do it. That comes with a price, Andrew. And really, we just want to see. I mean, it's really early days. We're not perfect. We're far from perfect. We want to see it grow. We want to see it happen. If it doesn't cost us anything, then we're happy to extend the extra support and stuff to our supporters, partners, sponsors, and stuff. And yeah, I mean, the whole thing with Inbox Expo, Map Digital really made that happen, because they paid for a physical event, and we didn't deliver a physical event, and they didn't sue the pants off us, which they would have been perfectly entitled to do. Right. So a big shout out to them, and then since then, massive companies have come along. Peppy Post, Netcore, Spark Post, all these massive brands have all come behind us and said, look, we'll support you. We want to see this grow. And then on the other side, this only works because we can bring the kind of content that no one else does, and that comes purely from goodwill. And I'm not sure where I necessarily earned it. But, and Spam House and the anti-spam and blocklist community, they've been really forthcoming in saying, look, we want to see these things work and we want to engage more with marketers. And, we see your events being a safe space to do that. And how can we make this happen? So, Inbox Expo having Servals, Spam House, Cloudmark, Envalument, it was half a dozen, more than block lists represented, and they said there's open questions for marketers to talk. That was a first first time experience that's only been available at very private type events like Morgan stuff, not to the general marketer. So it's only with support people and organizations like that we're able to deliver anything of value, really. And we're just incredibly humble and think that we're enabling stuff, but it really is down to what everyone else is putting in terms of what's being delivered and what's coming out, what the output that's coming out the other end.
I want to double down on the shout out to Map Digital, because I agree. I mean, they were, and I think I think they got a lot of good exposure out of it anyway. So I think it was smart of them to be an early backer, and we all in the industry appreciate when the big vendors help support these types of events. So I want to give them, and I know Netcore has become a big supporter. And again, vendors, we appreciate that. That's essential to help get these things off the ground.
One thing I want to do, because we're getting shorter on time, and I'd be remiss if I didn't do this. So people who are listening or watching and are interested in learning more about the event and what's going on with the Bonars, how do they stay in touch? How do they know when events are coming up? How do they get registered? How do they participate in those things?
Okay, here's an exclusive for
what? Exclusive?
Oh, that's right. He said there would be this. Yes. Podcast history.
20 years in the business, and we've never had a list. Would you believe it? True story. True story. Never had our own list. We quietly launched one 2 weeks ago on Email Expert. So if you go to emailexpert.com, you will get an annoying pop-up at the moment. That'll be replaced. Maybe three. We've got a lot of events to promote at the moment. But one of them will be to subscribe to the newsletter. We'll add it to the footer of the site as well. So emailexpert.com does have a newsletter now of sorts. Basically what it does is we'll send you out, I think on a Tuesday or Wednesday, we send out an email that will give you the most recent blog posts, the most recent vendors, agencies, and others that have been listed or updated on the site. So it's just one roundup. So if we add a new event, whether that's for us or anyone else, the whole thing, everything that we're doing, we're not trying to eat anyone else's cake. So, we list everyone else's events, and, we're supporters. We're going to MailCon, book my tickets. So, we're there, and we want to see all of those guys succeed as well. So emailexpert.com, you can sign up there. You can also, find vendors and agencies for the moment, and soon consultants as well as a lot of the video content from the past events is up there, as well as this series and all your
past we thank you for that too.
We're building a bit of a geek tube.
Recycling.
We're trying to get people viewing, more viewers to it's great content, and sometimes it gets, we're not big fans of YouTube. It gets lost on YouTube and people, they're stealing so we've got we're bringing cafe and
good
content all on. So there's more channels coming, so a bit of a, I don't know, GeekTube, email GeekTube, or what have you. So there's more and more of that content coming. We are trying to make the content more accessible. So we are running it through AI to generate transcripts, and we'll do that with your content as well. But then
not a good idea.
But then manually editing. because yeah, the AI stuff is good but not perfect. It gets better. So we use Otter AI. Shout out to them because yeah, they're not charging us enterprise rates. So they've been good to us. And this event that we're doing, the Inbox Expo, is going to be more accessible. I think it's the first time any of the email or events, email marketing events or such have been more accessible. So if you're hard of hearing, there will be live transcriptions throughout. We're using the same tech as TechCrunch did for their conference last year to make it more accessible. Nice. And yeah, that's what we're planning to do with the video and the content, is try and add something and add a bit more value to the brilliant stuff that you guys are outputting, and Kath and the others are all doing. So yeah, we want a central resource, and it's yeah, not just about what we're doing. If you guys are doing something, so I know a lot of the your listeners are going to be in the industry. The email expert platform is whoever you are, wherever you are in the industry, there's always a way for you to leverage that at absolutely no cost. So we'll be doing that type of thing. Obviously, we need to pay the bills and keep the lights on. There's always paid opportunities to try and extend your reach. But if you're in the industry, the community is there for you. If there's something that you think we should be doing differently, let us know. If there's something that you'd like to see us doing, we will hear about it.
emailexpert.com and our Twitter, email_expert, and inboxexpert.com as well. That's, I think, all, no?
Okay.
That's
cool.
Far more professional, see? Okay. So yeah.
Or you can wait email from us.
There you go.
Right.
So yeah, Twitter.
I hope our fans haven't crashed the server. I hope it's still up, because they're all going there right now.
We just don't want those modems blinking red. That's what we want to avoid. Well, we're running short on time, Chris. So probably now is the time to hit what we like to call the
lightning round.
There you go.
The lightning round. I need to find it. I've done my homework on this one. So the lightning round, Andrew, Nely, is where we give you, we say a word and you say the first thing that pops into your head. There's 5 of them, and we're going to dissect your answers, because we always have, as this has evolved over time, there is initially we just say, oh, there's no right answer. Well, there is a right answer.
There's a right answer.
So we're going to dissect your answers and tell you how close you came to the right answer on each of them. Now, you can choose to each give a response. You can choose to put your heads together and give a joint response, but the timing is key. In other words, you got to go quickly in response to the word. So,
no Googling.
Right. I mean, this isn't Family Feud where you get to sit and discuss it. Okay, so with that groundwork in place, let me. Okay, the first. I'll give this. The theme of this lightning round. So that gives you some clues. The theme is Spain.
Oh.
So the theme is Spain. So that might give Spain. Okay, so the first word, windmill.
Windmill.
What is that?
Windmill.
Sorry, windmill.
The Dutch thing.
Yeah, that's Dutch. That's not Spanish.
Did we get an answer?
The answer was that's Dutch, not Spain, Chris.
Yeah.
Okay. So Dutch, we'll take Dutch as the answer. All right. Next one. Chocolate.
Oh my God, we're going there. It's Switzerland. It's not
churros.
Right. Okay. Churros. Yeah. Churros is chocolate.
Okay. Tourists, we'll take that. The next one.
Spanish.
Yes.
Oh, we can say anything. Do you speak Spanish?
Yeah.
Don't speak Spanish, do you?
No.
Español. Okay, we can give any answer. Let's go.
It's so good.
Yeah. Where our rules are loose. The next one. Nudity. Nudity.
Playa.
Yes.
The beach.
Boom. Okay. Now you're getting the hang of it. Okay. The next one. And I hope this word is the same in a beret or beret, B-E-R-E-T. Yeah.
Basque country.
Basque.
País Vasco.
Now you guys are getting good. If you'd only come out of the gate so strong. Last one. Rabbit.
Conejo.
Conejo. Paella.
Conejo. Paellas. Paellas.
That is correct.
I mean, I'd like to say there's no wrong answer. That was wrong. Okay, so let's start with windmill. You said Dutch. In fact, the novel Don Quixote.
Don Quixote.
Yeah, the phrase. Yes, Man of La Mancha, Don Quixote, tilting at windmills. That phrase and tilting at windmills. And there's windmills in that book. And fun fact, it is called the first modern novel, Paul, and it's been translated into more languages than even the Bible.
Is that true?
Yes. So I was looking for Don Quixote, but so.
And Nely keeps telling me to read that.
You should have done that. That's a hard one, Chris. We should have done that one last.
Well, Nely should have had that.
You're right.
I actually reading it time to time because I don't have much time for reading that kind of books, but I still want to learn Spanish culture. And Don Quixote obviously is a book everyone read, and I didn't read, I don't know why. But he's completely, I just started, but he's completely weird. He's so strange. He's such a fantasy. I like this book. That's great, but it didn't come to me.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Paul's right. That may not have been fair because I was thinking tilting at windmills.
It's a good question, but it should have been our fifth and final, right? Like
fair enough. So, all right, we'll wipe that slate clean.
Okay. So now 4 questions is what we're dealing with.
Right. Chocolate. You said Switzerland. Another fun fact about Spain is that Spain, after its colonization of the Americas, introduced several things that Europeans had never seen before. Among them, oranges, avocados, cocoa, potatoes, and even sugar. There was not even sugar in it. They used honey for sweetening prior to the 15th century when all of these things were introduced to Europe. So that's why chocolate was number 2. That was fair, Paul, right?
Yeah, no, that is fair. That is fair. And I believe that
Okay.
it was Aztecian, I think.
It was Aztecian. Many of those things.
Chocolatl.
I mean, potato. The interesting thing is potato. People associate that with Ireland, but in fact, and Irish did eat a lot of potatoes, but not until after the 15th century when it was introduced. I mean, think of it. There were no pommes frites before the 15th century.
Okay, Chris.
I can't even imagine living at that time. All right, the next one. Nudity. That you nailed that one. In fact, nudity is perfectly legal in Spain. So on the beach, on any beach, in fact, anywhere, nudity is legal, though obviously there are inappropriate places and there's appropriate places, and the beaches are the appropriate places. So you got that one 100%.
Good luck.
Beret, you nailed 100%.
Right.
Beret, you nailed 100% because, in fact, people, while they associate it in the U.S. with France, it was the Basque country where people first started wearing the beret. So nailed that. Rabbit, I'm a little disappointed.
Rabbit paella is good, though.
The name Spain was derived from the word Hispania, which means land of the rabbits.
They had a lot of rabbits before.
It
And then,
Land of the
they
rabbits.
started making paellas.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, right, because thanks to paellas, not so many rabbits there anymore. So the origin of Spain was Hispania, which was land of the rabbits. So that's it. But you know what? You recovered very well. You nailed beret, which I never thought you would. You nailed nudity, which I wasn't sure you would. So all in all, I'd say that's a decent showing.
Good showing. It's a good showing, Chris.
Thank you guys. Nothing to be ashamed of.
Being on the show.
I'm so empty. We're all waiting. People, actually, I should say, I can't wait when you actually can arrive and we have the event. And
yeah, we can't wait. We can't. And again, Wild Horses won't keep me away. Get an event anywhere, I'm there, and I'll bring Paul along.
That's great.
As my +1. But thank you both. This was a great conversation. We really appreciate you guys joining us today. Again, you are both really, I mean, you are the power couple of email marketing. And you're the best known couple, and you really do a lot for the industry. And we want to say thank you. You give people opportunities to learn. You give people opportunities to speak and to exchange ideas. And again, it does not go unrecognized. So we want to thank you both for all the work you do and all the work you're going to be doing in the future. And we know we'll be seeing a lot.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
Angeli, and people, they can go to emailexpert.com. All of the Twitters and all of the socials, pretty easy to find you there, kind of listed under Email Expert. Cool. Thank you guys. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thanks.
guys.
We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Yes.
What a great show. The Bonars were absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I think as we said in the tee up, I think we heard great historical sort of we got great historical insight going back 25 years, and also really learned though where Andrew and Nely, his wife, the power couple of email marketing, are planning to take our industry and the conferences in the industry, and I think that's really exciting.
For sure. And one of the things that we talked about, Chris, as we were kind of planning this season was there are no historians in email marketing, right? There's no one keeping history. And so as the new generations of email marketers have kind of come in, and I kind of look at where we're at right now, kind of in a third wave, if you will. I mean, there was that first wave, and then there was the second wave, which I kind of fit into, right? And sort of piggybacked on the backs of a lot of fantastic, smart people. And now sort of there's this third wave that's coming in, and the work that was done in that first generation, there's no books, there's nothing. And so it's really fascinating the amount of effort and creativity that was used in solving problems is absolutely amazing. And I love hearing the stories. And Andrew and Nely sharing theirs was absolutely, again, special. When Andrew started talking about the conference in the UK that they didn't get to have happen, I mean, absolutely, like I was there with him at that moment, and that's cool. That's a cool thing to be a part of.
Yep. Producer Dave, what was your favorite part of today's episode?
Well, this was a really great one. I didn't know these folks before this episode, but just this whole founder series has been great for me as a newbie to the industry to get a peek behind the curtain and see who the real deals are. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Well, not to hijack things, but there was a sad time in our house, not this weekend, but the previous, when the Seahawks were ousted from the playoffs.
Oh, wait, hold on. We lose his head. Which dachshund of that is? It shows how little we care about the Seahawks story.
But I wore my jersey.
All right. Producer David, stop hijacking.
Sorry, that wasn't
with your anime dachshund.
What did the dachshund didn't anime up though?
No, he really did.
Yeah.
Sad.
I know that's what David was trying to do, but no, it's just not happening, David.
Sorry, bud.
So my Seahawks are out. Your Bears.
Way out.
And so I've been hearing folks complaining about how we can do sports, but we're not making the same allowances for the arts. And I'm curious, Chris, David, people who I think the world of, what about that tension?
I haven't heard that complaint, but frankly, because I'm in a news lockdown,
right?
I really just enjoy life here, but I guess my shoot from the hip reaction would be that the arts take place indoors, and these football sports games are happening in open air stadiums, and that may be part of it. It's certainly not the time of year where you could do outdoor in most of the country, where you could do outdoor music or plays.
I don't know. Basketball's taking place indoors, Chris. I mean, there's indoor stuff taking place. Again, I think it's such an interesting time, and we're kind of talking about history, how we all will look back on this and kind of go, the decisions we made, why did we make those decisions? And you know, I think that'll be an interesting story in and of itself.
True. What are your thoughts, producer David?
You know, I think you guys nailed it. It's weird how we're still trying to navigate what everyone's comfortable with and how best to do things. And when you start to think about the way that you know, you go to pick up some food from a place because you can't eat there, but still somebody else handled your food, and you start to think about all the how things got from point A to point B, and it all starts to fall apart. But we're doing our best, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I don't know that you know this, Chris, but David is a little bit of an actor himself. Did you know that?
Really, I did not know that. We all know I was in high school a very big.
That is true, but the Signal Mountain Playhouse at one point put on a showing of The King and I, and David was a little bit of a big deal. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, take a trip back with me, guys, to the summer of 2003. Signal Mountain Amphitheater Playhouse did do a production of The King and I was not, you know, I humble brag, I was one of the children in the play. I didn't have a named role because, you know, I don't have an ego like that. I didn't need a name, but I like to think that I stole every scene I was in.
So you weren't Anna's son, which is what I was hoping this was leading up to.
Yeah, I think,
well, Chris.
But my brother actually was, because, you know, he does seek that kind of validation. But
So in other words, if you were to be in a production, say of Oliver Twist, you know, you'd be satisfied being an unnamed workhouse boy, and not, you know, one of Fagin's boys, or not one of the, you know, not the Artful Dodger or Oliver himself.
Funny now, take a trip back with me in the summer of 1997 when I was in the community theater production of Oliver, and I played an unnamed orphan. It was a wonderful summer.
Now, David,
workhouse boy, and I resent it. I was a workhouse boy in a Lake Forest community production of Oliver Twist. Take you back to the summer of, I won't go back that far because, but I deeply resented just being an unnamed workhouse boy. I thought my talents were much greater. And of course, it was in high school that they were noted. And when I played Conrad Birdie and Bye Bye Birdie, and not some unnamed high school kid, you know, in the opening scene.
Well, David, there was also a time where you did have a lead role, and the echoes of that still echo through the hollows of Signal Mountain. There was you play the role of a dog. What was that in?
Gentlemen, take a journey with me back to the beautiful summer of 2001 when the Signal Mountain Playhouse did a production of The Wizard of Oz, and I was Toto in Act 2.
Wait, a named character?
A named character, but not a speaking role. That's how I you know, justified that.
That's how you justified it,
right?
People still talk about your bark. I mean, they say, I'll run into people and they'll say, he was just so believable. His bark, I mean, he transformed the role.
It's very kind.
It must have been amazing. I would have thought, though, I mean, crawling around on your knees for the duration, that would have been very painful for me. It's not something I would sign up for necessarily.
Well, it wasn't easy, and the way I see it, that was the peak in life, and whatever long-term effects I see from that, it was worth it.
So, and I know we don't have a lot of time, so I'll just kind of wrap it up with this. This is a big if the Signal Mountain Playhouse were to talk about doing a reunion show, much like the Fresh Prince of Bel Air recently did, would you be willing to right now on the show say,
that's too much pressure. Didn't we already have one exclusive on this episode?
Yeah, we want another one.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'd probably show up. It's like a 10-minute drive. I could manage
Chris,
it.
this is going to happen, Chris. We need
I
a
want
list.
to. Yeah, we need to see him in the role of Toto again in a reunion. I agree.
We need the cast list because I'm pretty sure we could track them all down for a Zoom.
Well, producer David, that's once again you have something on your plate that you will 100% ignore, and that's track down the other folks who were in that clearly epic production of Wizard of Oz.
You guys can
Awesome.
count on me. I'll definitely make that happen.
Awesome. Hey,
right.
I think that's what we got in terms of show this week.
Thank you for joining us. As always, we appreciate your joining us for these episodes, and we hope you get as much out of them as we do putting them on.
Click like, click subscribe, tell your friends. Thanks, everybody.
See you next week.